In future fighting machines, watch the weapons of today and tomorrow. This time, how to achieve the perfect airstrike. Future foot soldier fashions and big guns blow tons. The Invincible class aircraft carriers. The British Navy has 3, and this is the most up to date, the Ark Royal. It's just had a multi-million-pound refit for naval operations of the future. This is the largest of the Brits carriers, 683 feet long, weighing in with a displacement of 20,000 tons. They spent £147 million on the ship. It's even got the latest traffic light technology for rush hour on the flight deck. And there's a sturdy new mainmast too.
Ark Royal, when she went into reserve in 1994, was really still configured as an anti-submarine carrier designed for the Cold War in the North Atlantic. Since then, the world has moved on, and Britain's Strategic Defence Review realised that the ship needs to be able to sustain both defence and strike capabilities.
They've always carried these Sea Harriers, but now with an elevated ski jump, the Ark Royal can also take RAF Harriers to launch those handy airstrikes from the ocean. If you've got any bombs left when you return, it's your round in the bar. They've also done away with the old Lynx helicopters, and there's a new wizard of anti-submarine warfare in town.
The Merlin helicopter brings a very big new capability to the ship. It's probably the best anti-submarine helicopter in the world. For anybody who's in the anti-submarine business, they'll know that finding diesel submarines in coastal waters, and that's the sort of threat we might face today, is extremely difficult.
We gave up on the anti-submarine business years ago. Stock went through the ocean floor. Our money's on computer boffins. The Ark Royal systems have been upgraded to meet the needs of the modern sea warrior.
The battle space has now changed away from the Cold War, where the situation would have been cut and dry, black and white. We'd have known who was right and wrong, but things are very different now.
We don't have a clue who's right or wrong. The Ark Royal's top-notch computers can work it out.
The modern battle space is an exceptionally complex area, and the amount of information requires to be fused correctly, and we do that using the very latest in computer technology, which puts us ahead of the rest of the navies in the world.
While the officers are steering the ship past hostile fishing boats and other threats, ratings are on alert below.
The way that it works in an ops room such as this is that even the most junior operator has some of the most important roles, because he would be the first one to spot, for example, an enemy aircraft on a radar screen, because that's his actual sole responsibility.
Looks like a claustrophobic job. Officers on the bridge get the best view, of course. There's a bigger picture to look at too.
It's important to realise as well that Ark Royal is not just an aircraft carrier. She's also a very important command and control platform. Again, in the days of the Cold War, much of the command and control would have been done from fixed bases in NATO's facilities in Europe. But now that we undertake expeditionary operations abroad, Sierra Leone, for instance, is a very good example, we often need to be able to control all forces, that's Navy, Army and Air Force, from a ship at sea if we haven't got a secure base ashore.
The carrier has a range of 7,000 miles to get to those global trouble spots. And deep in the bows, 4 Concorde-sized gas turbine engines keep the Ark shifting at over 30 knots. And if anything does go wrong, just follow the instructions and don't mention the Titanic. Aircraft carriers are the hub of a naval battle group and usually have a fleet to protect them. But if all those lookouts and eyes in the sky fail, there's one last line of defence.
Behind us we've got one of my 3 phalanx close-in weapon systems. We've got one fitted at the forward end of the ship, this midships one, and one back on the aft quarter, which provides overlapping arcs of defence The gun fires 3,200 rounds of titanium bullets at incoming missiles or aircraft. The white part at the top has a surveillance and a tracking radar, and this can assess any targets in the air as a risk to the ship, and then it will engage those targets out to a range of 5 miles and shoot them down.
It's interesting to find in the Ministry of Defence and the higher echelons of power in the military, if you like, you will find both generals and air marshals, perhaps not every one of them, now very much supporting the idea of the country buying 2 new aircraft carriers, because aircraft carriers represent a base from which all 3 services can conduct operations abroad.
The new supercarriers are planned for 2015, but for now it's full steam ahead for the new and improved Ark Royal, the pride of the British Navy. In Future Warrior, we look at technology to keep the squaddy fit and fighting. This time it's camouflage. Soldiers spend ages perfecting their disguise, like these scamps out to play in the forest. In seconds, they're gone. Looks a bit uncomfortable, but it's pretty effective. This season's look for snipers is rough and ready. Hang on, you should have shot the officer first. What's this? A second-rate sci-fi bad guy? No, it's the latest in camouflage. This suit prevents detection from thermal imaging. It keeps his heat signal and his sweat in. Nice. Camouflage comes in all colours for all seasons. White is useful, even if it's a pain in the wash. And khaki is never dull in the desert. These guys got caught out in last season's fashions. That's a real war crime. The traditional face paint is still useful, even if it does leave you sweating. But plans are on the table for camouflage that'll make the Future Warrior virtually invisible. Boffins are working on nanotechnology. Micro sensors the size of a dust particle will be embedded in the fibres of their uniforms. They'll detect the exact colour of the battlefield. Hey presto, soldiers will move like chameleons through any terrain. He'll never be spotted. In the meantime, they're still working on the concept, and the technology has some way to go. Look out there, mate. I think you've been spotted.
I'm Captain Maître-Henri from the French Air Force.
My name is Captain Viana. I'm from the Belgian Air Force.
Hello, I'm Captain Javier Centeno from Spanish Air Force.
Flight Lieutenant Michelle Pym, PYMM, from 43 Squadron at RAF Lucas.
Coalitions. Now more than ever, alliances are key to modern warfare. When countries join forces, it's never easy, but cooperation is essential.
Well, coalition warfare is the order of the day. It is going to be extremely rare you'll see any other country apart from the United States undertaking a serious military operation on its own. You will always be looking at some form of an alliance of different countries operating together. And if you look over the last 10 years, certainly, most of these alliances, think of the Gulf War, think of operations in the former Yugoslavia, have been led by the United States simply because they've always given the most aircraft and the most assets.
Even in times of supposed peace, joint Air Force operations are commonplace.
The squadron has quite a few deployments throughout the year, and the major one is patrolling the no-fly zone over Iraq with the Americans, and we can be airborne for up to 4 hours, patrolling the no-fly zone and then returning to base.
If you're looking at putting together an alliance operation, you're often trying to mix and match the best assets from the different nations involved. The Germans tend to provide their electronic combat reconnaissance tornadoes. The UK has more precision attack systems than any other European nations. And the French have some of the best reconnaissance assets. By picking and mixing what the different nations can offer, hopefully you can make a coherent and valid force package.
One tool is Exercise Nomad. Air forces across Europe get together once a year for a dogfight to show off their skills and check out the Allies. Pilots go into combat in their different fighter planes, and their performance is assessed.
Main objectives here at Nomad are to train DACT, that's Dissimilar Air Combat, together with all the other nations who have F-16s, Mirages, Spanish F-18s are here, Royal Air Force F-3s, and the Sea Harriers from the Royal Navy.
This is a big exercise to learn to work with all of the nations of NATO nation and to learn to fly all together to make some tactics.
Being in a dogfight is a big thrill. It's like a drug. As a pilot, you actually need it more often than you would think. If you stay on ground for more than a couple of days, you really want to go back up there and fight the opponent.
Conflicts have proved the need for trading of information, even within NATO. In the Gulf War, Allied air forces nearly came unstuck.
The French had deployed Mirage air defense aircraft out there, and it was worked out pretty quickly that these aircraft were using the same radars as a different model of Mirage in Iraqi service. And the US Air Force basically told the French fighters, if you operate anywhere near the area of combat, our guys will end up assuming you're Iraqi and will shoot you down. And as a result, the French fighters got basically sent into exile in southern Saudi Arabia for their own safety.
The F-16s, F-18s used all over the world. To be able to fly against them is an excellent opportunity. Being able to see how they perform, see how different nations operate is certainly an excellent training tool.
Coalition warfare is here to stay. It's not going to go away. It needs more work. People will have to do more training, planning together to make sure that when the next Kosovo comes along, they can do it with as minimum of fuss.
In Top Guns, we compare the best military machines. This time it's unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, the latest mini spy planes. Spy South African style with the Seeker. UAV or UFO, it's the American Predator. Shadow 200 for more stateside spotting. And Israelis trust in the Hunter. UAVs are vital for battlefield spying and targeting, and they don't risk pilots. So which gets the high score in the spy war? The South African Seeker is a fast and lightweight model. Its directional antenna gives real-time communication up to a 250-kilometer range. It has payload capacity of 50 kilograms for the color video camera and thermal image it carries. It'll keep going for up to 12 hours, or until that controller gets bored and falls asleep. The Seeker's the cheapest option at $750,000, an option for the first-time UAV buyer, but it's not quite as powerful as the others in the test, and it rates an FFM factor of 3. The Predator is the biggest of our unmanned aerial vehicles, weighing in at nearly 800 kilos. It's also the freakiest looking and has seen action over Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and no doubt a few other places of interest. Predator's the best known, probably because several have been shot down and crashed. Shame they cost $1.5 million. But that pays for great tech specs with infrared seekers, cameras and radar systems, and secure data linking at a range of 740 kilometers. It's already fired a missile in tests. Fearsome. Only cost could bring it down. An impressive FFM factor of 5. The Shadow 200 is a short-range tactical UAV. It doesn't need to transmit too far, up to 200 kilometers. It's designed for squaddies as an easy-to-assemble system. It's quick to launch, small and difficult for the enemy to spot. A top speed of 277 kilometers an hour, it's sent out to spot even moving targets for artillery to take out. It's had some problems in development, particularly when launched at sea. And it costs as much as a Predator at $1.5 million. That brings it down to an FFM factor of 4. The Hunter is another short-range tactical UAV from Israel, designed to spot close targets for the big guns. They've built quite a few. Hunter's had problems with data link failure in the past, but its airborne data relay is online now. It has sophisticated cameras, data link and laser designation, perfect for spotting the enemy. Its targeting is to be used with multi-launch rocket systems and to help Apache helicopters pick targets, so Hunter will be providing much-needed punch power. Cheaper than most at $1 million too, rates an FFM factor of 5. These systems are techie warfare at its height. We'd give it to Predator if it didn't keep getting shot down, so the UAV Top Gun is the Hunter. Back in the good old days, you could drop a load of bombs and hope for the best. Civilian collateral? That was just an unpleasant side effect. But the new generation of ground attack weapons, are sophisticated and accurate, should hit the target, as long as you've got the right one. So meet the KEPD 350 Taurus cruise missile. Fired up to 350 kilometers from the target, it's been designed by German boffins with a turbofan engine to fly just under the speed of sound. It'll be used by German Tornadoes. It's the first European global positioning system guided missile with long range. All you have to do is drop it, the satellite GPS will guide him in. Don't worry about missiles sent out to stop it. The Taurus has its own countermeasure system to put enemy devices off. It can continue its radar-avoiding, terrain-hugging attack. And look, it doesn't have to kill anyone at all. It will get inside the toughest underground target with a penetrator charge. And air defences are taken out by detonation above the target. Its accuracy will take it to the weak point of any adversary. Hook, line, and sinker. In the shadows of a dark world, where military secrets cost lives, exists a man with too much secret information. Trained by an organisation that no longer exists. Pursued by undercover government operatives worldwide. His name is Paul Beaver. He's on the run. He's killing time.
Big guns have been around for hundreds of years. Leonardo da Vinci is the godfather of the big gun. It's just as critical today as it was then. So why do they call it Queen of the Battlefield? Simple. It takes the battle to the enemy. Light guns, carried by trucks, carried by helicopters. Heavy guns, self-propelled. They take themselves to the battle. What's the aim? Bring down a knockout punch without being seen. Long range, 24 kilometers, indirect fire, devastating firepower. See that building? One single multi-launch rocket system will take it out in seconds. They don't see it coming, bang, they're dead. They call it shoot and scoot, self-propelled artillery. 6 rounds in a minute, devastating firepower, Braveheart. AS-90 Braveheart. It's Britain's king of the big guns. It's accurate, it's fast. It has auto-loading, quick firing, it leaves before the enemy can hit back. Paladin, G6. Shoot, scoot, and gone. Faster than a tank. Get a battery of AS-90s. You've got battlefield dominance and flexible response. And the future? It's even more mobile guns, like this 155mm self-propelled howitzer. It can fire different shells at different angles. The target doesn't stand a chance. We've seen it on television. Every ragtag army has got towed artillery. .135, 105, doesn't matter. How good are they? Well, indiscriminate. Nobody's as good as a British gunner. Multi-launch rocket systems, are they the future? Probably not. They're psychologically devastating. Imagine destroying a 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre grid in a matter of seconds. No wonder the British call them the grid square denier. Command bunkers, vehicles, troop concentrations, they're all sent to Kingdom Come.
That is the end for future fighting machines. Come along next time for another white-knuckle ride on the roller coaster of weaponry. Cheerio.